All right. Welcome, everybody. We are so glad you are here with us tonight. And we will just give it a minute just so people are able to kind of see how we're going to do things. And then we'll lay out a little bit about our agenda. We are so excited to have you guys here. It is 7 o'clock East Coast time. They're all talking about crazy weather here in the East, getting really hot. So we are all trying to stay as cool as possible. My name is Sarah Ireland. I am Associate Director of Admissions here at Skidmore College in a beautiful town of Saratoga Springs. We are in upstate New York. And I am joined by two amazing students that will be with us tonight. What we're going to kind of do is do some introductions really quick with our students. I have about a 3-minute video that will show you, and it'll just give you some basic things to look at. And then we will come back and answer some questions. We will talk a little bit about, obviously, Skidmore College and the academic life here on campus, how it really plays into the Saratoga life. Saratoga Springs is a very robust, vibrant town that's only about a half a mile from campus, and how that plays a role in the Skidmore experience. We'll talk about residential life, living on campus, where you would live, etc. Invite you, of course, to do the virtual tour, and of course, to invite you on campus. We're having a great open house this coming July Saturday, the 25th. We would love for you to attend. Those information links are right on our website. And then we'll kind of wrap up a little bit with the admissions landscape. It is 7:02 right now, East Coast time. Our plan is to be with you for about 45 minutes, and we invite you to ask questions as things go along right there in the chat. Feel free to do that, and we respectfully will try to answer as many as possible. Again, I'm Sarah Ireland, Associate Director of Admissions, and I will roll it over to Aiden and Teo, our current students, to do a little introduction, and then we'll do our little video. Aiden, take it
Hi.
away.
So I'll start off. My name is Aiden. I am a rising senior here, and I'm an environmental science major. I'm from Maryland. I'm also on the swim team here, so I can talk about the student athlete experience. Aside from working in admissions here as an ambassador, I also am the captain of peer academic coaching for the Environmental Science and Studies department. So that's basically like drop-in tutoring that every department offers, led by upper level students in all of the majors. And then I studied abroad last fall in Ecuador. So that was a really incredible experience. I also have a radio station or a radio show as part of our radio station, which is WSPN or 91.1. There's a streaming link, and students have a show for like an hour long every week, which is really fun.
It's great. Thanks, Aiden.
Hello, everybody. My name is Teo. I am also a rising senior. I am from Stamford, Connecticut. I am a studio art major concentrating in digital media. Outside of my work in admissions as a tour guide, I work in the art equipment cage. I also frequent the tabletop club. I do freelance video on and off campus for multiple different clients. I also take voice lessons, and I am a digital media intern for the Ukrainian Classical Voice Project. Over the summer, I am working for the admissions department as a tour guide, and I am doing some inventory in the art department.
That's great. Thanks a lot, you guys, for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And the nice thing about having these two with us is you have someone that's not only in the sciences, but also the arts. So again, Skidmore College is one of those places that you can definitely do both. So I'm going to, as smoothly as possible, try to share my screen with you as you guys can take a look at our quick webinar. And here we go. All right. Well, those are just a couple of quick slides, hopefully to give you a little bit of an idea of what campus looks like, what downtown, the location of Skidmore. Aiden and Teo, can you talk a little bit about maybe why you chose Skidmore as you looked at a lot of different colleges, and maybe wrap in there a little bit about how Saratoga has played a role for you as a student since you've been here? That would be great. Aiden, do you want to start off?
Yeah, of course. Saratoga is such a huge part of life here, compared to all of the other sort of small liberal arts schools that I was looking at. The town of Saratoga definitely um, sort of punches above its weight. We really benefit from the horse racing season during the summer. So there are lots of restaurants. There's a great live music scene. So when we're here, there's a full community that sort of exists alongside the college, and it's not necessarily a college town, so it doesn't by any means like shut down during the summer. So I definitely picked Skidmore in part because of Saratoga. I thought the town was cool. And since I've been here, it's played a huge role. I like to go downtown usually like once a week on the weekends and go get coffee with some of my friends, or there's a vintage market called Second Sundays that comes every month. There are bookstores to go into, sort of lots of options that I toured some other places and definitely did not see that. So that was an immediate bonus.
I think what ultimately jumped out for me, Aiden said it really well. The campus was just so special to me when I came here. There was just something that really jumped out about all the green and all the trees everywhere. And Saratoga is also just, again, it punches well above its weight. And SPAC is definitely a huge perk. We have a Live Nation music venue in town. I've seen Pitbull there, T-Pain, Dave Matthews Band. I just saw Jack Johnson. He was incredible. And there's just concerts like that all throughout the year, different artists that come through. And aside from just stuff to do, we also have a ton of nature around. We've got about 150 acres of woods actually on Skidmore's campus, which is great. But if you want to get away from campus, we've got the state park, which is about 15 minutes away. And there's a bunch of great trails. You can go camping, and provided gear you can get completely free as a Skidmore student, you can go camping with your friends. That's just one of the many perks that you can do through Skidmore.
Thanks, you guys. I think sometimes as people are looking at colleges, trying to figure out what makes them distinctive, is the big thing. You know, of course, there's a lot of schools that are 2,700 students, smaller class sizes. But I think one of the things that Skidmore does really well and is special is this program we have called the First Year Experience. The First Year Experience, or FYE as we call it, is a great kind of bridge of high school life to college life. There's a seminar that's a part of it called the First Year Seminar, or what we call the Scribner Seminar. Um, if you guys can talk a little bit about maybe how did Skidmore's first year experience help you as an incoming student, either get used to college life or advisoryship or kind of making connections with professors and the like on campus. If you could share your experience with your first year experience, that'd be great.
So my freshman seminar was called Plastic Fantastic. It was an environmental studies sort of type course that covered all things plastic, and that did align with my major. I'm an environmental science person, so right from the start, I sort of had an advisor that was with my interests, but it immediately provided me with like a safe, like fun group of people. Like my professor had us over at her house in the first month in September, and we had a bonfire, and she cooked for all of us, and we met her family. So right out of the gate, I felt like Skidmore was like a very open arms, sort of welcoming community. And one of the benefits of me having taken a class that was sort of similar to my major interests is I met a lot of people in that class that I've taken classes with throughout the years, which is not maybe most people's experiences because, of course, you can and many people do take these seminars in random interests that they just think are cool and might not be what they want to study. But that was all valuable. We went on some cool field trips. I feel like I got exposed to different parts of campus that I wouldn't have naturally. So they're all designed to be interdisciplinary. Although it was an environmental class, we made plastic art for one of our projects. So we went to the Tang Museum, which is on campus, and we learned about curation. I got to go into like the curating room that they have there, and we learned from some of the staff there at the Tang, and that is excellent. I really like art, but have no sort of involvement in the department other than that. So I thought that that was immediately cool to start off with.
My Scribner seminar was called Music Mix and Remix. It was about creativity and originality in music. So it actually ended up being one of my favorite classes that I've taken outside of my major, which I still find really cool. But we were looking at how musicians have borrowed from each other, all the way from like classical composers to modern remix and sample culture. We covered plagiarism, copyright, all cultural appropriation, a bunch of stuff like that, and then we kind of combined together history, law, and ethics in a really interesting way that I just hadn't really thought of before. But one of my favorite parts about this class is that it wasn't just sitting in the classroom all the time. We got to do a bunch of fun outings. Like we went to this apple orchard one time. There's this apple orchard like 10 minutes from campus, and they make the best apple cider donuts and the best apple cider. So if you do make it up to Saratoga in the fall, definitely try some of that apple cider. But like Aiden said, what I ultimately appreciated most from my Scribner seminar was the fact that it was kind of like a built-in community that I had my first year. I saw a lot of familiar faces around campus. Oh, you're in my seminar. Oh, we know each other. Just because like there's just so much bonding time that you get in that seminar class. So yeah, definitely a great experience.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. And a lot of it too has to do with how you connect with your professors. The professors, nice thing about Skidmore is most of the professors live locally. Saratoga area is a great place to raise your family and really kind of grow your roots. And so a lot of professors live locally. They spend a lot of time on campus. They're at the athletic events. They're at the music events. They're very much a part of campus. Saratoga and Skidmore really play a lot together when it comes to a lot of the events on campus and in town. So even though we're 2,700 students, you really become part of both communities when you come to Skidmore. Let's talk about the academic life briefly, and then we'll move on to life outside the classroom. I think it's important that people know that Skidmore is one of those places that you can do many different things. You don't apply as a certain major. You come in under general admissions. You declare your major by end of your sophomore year. Can you and can Teo and Aiden, can you guys talk a little bit about did professors or any advisors on campus help you determine your major or help figure out what classes you were going to work? What kind of support did you get from your faculty when it came to kind of deciding what your major or majors were going to be?
This is definitely an interesting question for me, just because I've moved around majors multiple times. I was originally a psychology major, then I was a business major, and now I'm an art major. So I honestly had a pretty similar experience with each of those majors, given their departments. The staff and the faculty are absolutely nothing but supportive of whatever it is that you want to do. So when I was still in psychology, I had this one great advisor. She was helping me with everything I needed to do, picking classes for next semester, and then suddenly on a dime, I wanted to do something else. So I switched to a different department, and they were just as helpful on the dime with me, making sure everything's going the track that I need to go so that I'm not overwhelmed by the time I'm graduating, and then switch again to art. And it's been amazing. I've built some incredible relationships with people in the art department. And I mean, the faculty that I've met have even given me job opportunities outside of school that I've been able to make money off of, which is an incredible thing to get from a professor-student relationship. Um, but yeah, generally very helpful, wanting to support your goals. And if you're building that relationship with your professor, then you're going to have no problems finding a good advisor.
For me, I have had a more linear track. I came in thinking I wanted to do something environmental and stuck with my same advisor and eventually declared. I definitely thought I wanted to do something a little more environmental studies or maybe politics related, and pivoted away from that and sort of focused on science and more the research side. But what's been really helpful recently is my professors in that department advising me about careers because now I have 1 year left before I'm about to sort of enter the world. And I am excited for that, but I have no idea what I want to do. And I've learned quite a lot of different things here. So I have been meeting with one of my professors who is not my advisor, but who I just had a good relationship with. And we've met 3 or 4 times this spring to sort of like map out my skills and interests and talk about future careers. And she's connected me with some alumni. So that has been really valuable. And I think that's a super common thing here that the advisors really will sort of guide you in whatever way maybe might make the most sense for you.
And you both have some great examples of being able to kind of pick classes from many different areas. A lot of folks know Skidmore for the creative arts, but a third of the students are in the sciences. The largest major on business on campus is management and business. So it really is a place that can do many different things. And almost two-thirds of our students will either double major or major, double minor, and kind of be able to kind of pick things as they go. I'm just going to do a quick invite here in the chat to not only invite you guys to ask questions in the Q&A, but also to let you know that we're going to have a couple of open houses coming up. We typically do an open house in the summer because, as Aiden mentioned, the horse racing season is very large here in the area. We're an area of about 30,000 that gets almost triples during the summer. So there's a lot to do in the summer. So there's a lot of students that will stay and do internships or research. Aiden or Teo, are either of you doing, or have you done internships or research? And if so, what have you, without getting too detailed, what have you done and how has Skidmore kind of helped you maneuver through those either internships or research?
Um, so I am currently a digital media intern for a program called the Ukrainian Classical Voice Project. It's a Skidmore affiliated program. They've done work with this group, but I actually was able to become this intern because of my voice teacher, who is kind of sitting on the board at the Ukrainian Classical Voice Project, and she was like, "I want you to come help us out with all of our digital media stuff." It's been a really great experience though, because I've actually been able to apply the skills that I've been learning in my classes at Skidmore to actual real world projects for an organization that's doing meaningful work. Um, and I'm getting the experience while also getting to preserve Ukrainian culture, which is just nice to hit both at the same time. I also recently got to travel to Cornell to help cover a concert, and I even had the opportunity to hire my dad, who is an industry cinematographer, to work the event with us, which was really fun getting to manage a real world media project. Um, but yeah, there's so many opportunities at Skidmore to connect your interests with different internships and hands-on experience, and I think overall Skidmore has made that really available to me, and I'm very grateful of that.
For me, last summer, I took advantage of the Skidmore Experience Fund, which is one of the Summer Experience Fund, which is one of the stipends basically that you can apply for from Skidmore to do lower unpaid internships or jobs over the summer. And I worked for an environmental nonprofit. They couldn't pay me, but I got to work there during the summer doing environmental monitoring, which was very cool. And I got that connection through a professor and then applied to that. And I've done research for 2 semesters, and I'll go on a third in the fall. And that has been really beneficial in its own way. I've done that for credit. You can also do that paid depending on what department or research project you work on. But there's other funding available for research. Me and my research partner this semester got $200 or $300 to buy supplies for our lab, and that was a huge help because that didn't need to come out of then the department's pocket to get us going on our project. So both of those opportunities were really helpful.
Great. Thank you guys both for sharing that. Um, and actually, we've got a great question in the Q&A about general education requirements. We know that there are some requirements, and we can put that link there in the chat for you, but how strict are they? How flexible were the general requirements that you guys kind of have worked with in your years at Skidmore?
I think what's really interesting
So
about, oh, sorry.
you go.
Thanks. I think what's really interesting about the requirements is that a lot of the times you'll have one class that can meet multiple requirements or multiple classes that can meet one requirement. There's so many different options to be able to meet those few. We have 10 core requirements at Skidmore, and it's so easy to, fill that whichever way you want. I'm taking a photography 2 class that is going to meet two different requirements that have in my mind, nothing to do with each other, but we'll see when I take the class. Um, Generally, though, you're not gonna be like, oh, I have to take this exact 101 class and this exact 200 class to meet my requirements. No, you have so many different options depending on what department that you're interested in.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Aiden, back to you about stipends. You mentioned being able
Mhm.
to do an internship. What are the stipends available? Do you know if there are stipends available for,
Yes.
okay, can you address that a little bit?
Yeah, so the one that I got was the SEF or Summer Experience Fund. That is typically $4,500 for the summer. And there are some requirements there about having like a specific supervisor, um, and doing some sort of work during the semester or during the summer, like updating about the project and making a blog post. But beyond that, there's also a stipend called See Beyond, which is a $6,000 option, which is somewhat more competitive than the summer experience funds. Just one per department are offered each summer. And those can be applied to internships, artistic projects, travel for research, really any kind of opportunity that you can think of. So those both are very popular. And then, of course, many students come to do research on campus, and that is a sort of internship-like experience that could be beneficial, and students can get up to $6,000 for the summer doing that.
That's great. Great. Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about life outside of the classroom. And we've got a couple of questions in the Q&A, Teo and Aiden, that if you want to type in any answers that you might have for some of those kind of as I'm talking, that would be awesome. So life outside the classroom is very busy. We do get some great questions about accessibility and tutoring centers. You do find that there is, if you Google Learning Commons at Skidmore, you will find out some more information about the Learning Commons and all the support and academic support that goes with that. And I think it's a great idea that as you're looking at colleges, finding out what they can, how they can serve you as a student, and are they a place that can give you what you need. I am constantly impressed with how our students are not only utilizing the Learning Commons, but all sorts of different accessibility. Um, Life outside the classroom is busy. Aiden's one of our student athletes. We've got 19 different varsity sports. We have many different clubs and intramural sports as well. I like the fact that we don't have a football team, that instead you have students and events that go on throughout campus. You may, on a Friday night, go to a concert to support one of your friends that's interested in the music end of things, and then you may head over to watch one of the basketball games. There is a great question in the chat too about are there any fun traditions or any fun events that kind of are a little bit special to Skidmore? And if you guys have any off the top of your head, I know you're typing away. My favorite is what we call Skidmania, which is actually one of the music events that goes on campus. Um, I think it's an interesting combination of students that are highly talented, but also students that aren't even music majors and minors that are part of it. So again, another thing to Google about Skidmore is Skidmania. Can you guys talk a little bit about anything you typically do on a weekend during the school year? How do you support your friends? What does that vibe feel like, if you will?
I definitely will say like sports, like of course going to those sorts of games. I've been to um every team's something, um, which I think has been really cool. Like I've found some friends, good friends on the equestrian team, didn't know anything about riding at all. And I've been to a couple of their shows, and that's just really fascinating, honestly, to see horses like jump over the fences. But beyond that, like one of my friends is on the Ultimate Frisbee team, which is one of our clubs, probably the most popular club sport here. I've been to that. Then there are also, of course, things like art shows and like musical events, like Sarah mentioned, Skidmania. But of course, there are theater productions, multiple that go on every semester. I went to a cool one a few years ago that I really liked, and that like one of my friends had a family friend in, so we went to that, and it was really a surprise and sort of something that we just stumbled upon. But those types of events, like club events, really are going on always, and um, could offer something new.
Aiden put it really well. I'm not sure if you literally just said this, but we have only around 2,700 students and around 3,000 events every single year. So we have a ton of events. There's so many different ways to get involved. Aiden mentioned it, but my one of my favorite ways is the art. There's different art shows on campus. We have three different art galleries on campus, and there's constantly new shows coming in all the time. And a lot of the times, these art openings, will actually have catered food. So it's a great place to go eat some good food, meet people that you've never met before, talk about art, look at art, even if you just eat the food and don't look at the art. Like it's a great thing to come do and spend your time and go see some people or things you've never seen before.
I think one of the things that's really neat about visiting campus is the option to kind of get a feel for things, see it. You guys talked about how green it is. You talked about the accessibility of getting to campus. Um, can you guys talk a little bit about transportation? What's it like to get around? Do you need a car to be on campus? We are 3.5 hours from Boston, 3.5 from New York City, 3.5 from Montreal. Um, what did you guys feel about transportation or getting around the area?
So, I actually have my car on campus and it's been great. I also have done multiple semesters without a car, also totally possible. As far as locally, we have a great bus program called the Flex Bus. It's kind of like Uber. You put in where you want to go on your phone, you swipe with your Skid ID, it's completely free and it'll take you literally anywhere in town. And there's multiple Flex buses that are in town at any given moment, so you're not going to be sitting around waiting for it. We also have a great bike share program in Saratoga. It operates very similar to like a city bike in like New York City. You pay a couple cents per minute to ride. Your ride only ends up being like a couple dollars at the end, and you can actually park it wherever you want in Saratoga. As far as further out goes, we've got Amtrak and Greyhound bus. The Amtrak takes a little bit longer, it's a little bit slower, but the Greyhound bus is super cheap and fast, so I definitely recommend using that if you are wanting to get into New York City for the weekend or something like that.
Being from Maryland, Aiden, any any difference in getting
Yeah,
around for you?
I will go to the airport. I just flew home this weekend for a family event. Very convenient. I have a car now, so I drove, but I've never had a car before this summer on campus. And usually for breaks, SGA will organize a shuttle service to take students to the airport and also to the train station. So there will be like a couple trips throughout, like the day before Thanksgiving break. Same thing with the holidays. So I took the shuttle when I was a freshman, and that was really convenient.
Thank you for that. And it also leads me to kind of my next question that has popped up about the diversity on our campus. What does that look like? What does it feel like? I think the word diversity, there's so many different angles to it, which is great, whether, it's what we believe or how we think or our culture. There's a lot of different kind of segues to that. One of the things that I think is so nice about our campus is how we attract different students, not just our location, but also first generation kids, students who have not had a background of college going relatives. What does the diversity feel like or look like to you guys on campus? Do you have any particular experiences or thoughts on that question?
I would say number one, we have a significant international student population. There's 13% coming from over 60 countries. So that for sure is part of it. I've met plenty of international students from some countries that I had not heard of, which is really very cool. But I think a bigger part for my experience has just been the diversity of interests and types of people. I had thought coming to maybe a smaller liberal arts school that the student body was going to be more similar, but I've been really pleasantly surprised that there are lots of kinds of kids here, and I feel like that has only enhanced my experience. And it is certainly true that we all have really varied and diverse interests, but um, yeah, there are lots of different kinds of like personalities, of course, and Skidmore students are chill and they're nice, but like we really have different things going on, which makes sort of everybody you meet like a unique, different person that you could get to know.
Right. I also like the fact that students are coming from everywhere throughout the United States, as well as you mentioned
Mhm.
internationally, but also this wonderful flavor of being able to take classes that are not in your major. There's a great question of, if I'm going to be a psych major, can I take theater classes? Or if I really love environmental science, but I don't want to be a major in it, can I take those classes? What has been your experience, Teo? Maybe we'll start with you because you seem to have had a lot of different great interests and been able to kind of take little parts of other things. Is there an ability to take classes in areas that you don't major in?
Of course there is. I think most notably for me, I am not a music student. However, I am a huge music person. I play 12 instruments. I listen to music all the time. Like I love music. But I didn't necessarily choose to pursue it at Skidmore. However, I saw this music like sound production class come up on the course registrar like a year or two ago, and I took it, and it was one of the weirdest classes, weird in a good way, weirdest classes I've ever taken in my life. We had this really cool day where we took these contact microphones and we brought them out into the woods and we put them like inside of the bark of trees, and then we just listened to the trees breathe for the entire class period. And that was all we did that day. And just stuff like that. That was kind of the entire class. And that's just one of many classes I've taken outside of my major just because I kind of wanted to because it looked fun. And
Yeah.
you have so much time to be able to do that at Skidmore.
I've been at Skidmore 20 years and I hear these stories time and time again. And this one particular student was asking about theater classes, maybe not necessarily being in the productions, but taking classes. And yes, absolutely. You almost find here at Skidmore, though, that if you take a theater class, you might fall in love with the whole department and might be interested in more of it. So, but that's the beautiful part of it is you don't have to be a major and you're not shut out of classes. Um, Based on your major or minor. I'd like to ask you guys, and again, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Um, is there anything about Skidmore that has surprised you in the years that you've been there that maybe you didn't know about when you were doing research, when you were not research on colleges, when you were looking? Is there anything that you would tell these folks that are listening tonight that maybe you didn't know when you were in their shoes?
Yeah, I mean, there's many things I'd like to hear if I was in your position, but I'll tell you something that I wish I heard about Skidmore. And I mean, it's not like it made any difference, but people are not afraid of other people doing well at this school. And not just to say that everyone's supportive, because everyone is very supportive. If you're working on something and you feel passionate about it, other people are going to notice that you're passionate about that thing, and they're just going to stand along right next to you and be passionate about that with you. Even if they don't know you, even if they don't know what you're about or why you're making the thing you're making, if it's an essay, if it's a sculpture, if it's a drawing, people are going to stand next to you and be on your side and be cheering and rooting for you. And I just think that's something that's so amazing that I have really only experienced at Skidmore.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. My immediate thought was my answer to the previous questions about how just different students are in terms of their interests. Um, that certainly surprised me when I came here. And then another thing, which is very similar to what Teo said, was like the ease of access to opportunities like research. Like all of my friends pretty much have done research in their respective departments, poli sci and Spanish and environmental science, and also other like philosophy, religious studies. So it really can look like a lot of different things. And it's not something that I have ever heard is like you're fighting for a couple coveted spots. Like these, like every department like welcomes um, whatever projects you might want to do, or if you're passionate about something, how can you get involved in an opportunity that might fit that well? So everybody is really doing something and they're supported by the staff here to do so.
Great. Thank you. And I think that goes along with, is there a typical Skidmore student? Um, I think there's typical characteristics, supportive, genuine. It's an environment where people can explore. And even in the admissions end of things, we're not looking for the perfect student. We're looking for someone who's got great potential, who's going to be a support to their friends, who will actually, I went to see the a Skidmore Orchestra event, and the baseball team came in and sat down in front of us. And they were there to support the pitcher on the baseball team, who was also first violinist in the orchestra. Those are the types of little stories that I see time and time again. Um, Couple of great questions popping up here. So we're kind of in the Q&A mode of the last like 15, 20 minutes. Pre-med, there is a terrific, and I know Aiden's working on it, but the pre-med end of things, there's amazing opportunities for anybody going into the health profession. HPAC, we call it the HPAC, and again, something to Google on our website. But the HPAC will also tell you some great opportunities. So that's a good link for you. We did. Actually, Teo mentioned the Tang Museum and some other galleries on campus. Teo, being in the art end of things, can you talk a little bit about some of those spaces on campus for students for their work, whether it's performing arts or studio arts, whatever, maybe exhibition spaces, anything that, um,
Absolutely. I'll talk about the Tang in particular. That is our museum on campus, and it is like a full-fledged. It is on Google as a museum. It's an actual museum, and they've got an incredible library of artwork and just very old stuff. They have a this archive room. If you take art history classes, you're going to be in there a lot. Basically, they just have these shelves and just archives of old artwork and old documents and just various other items that they've collected over the years. Something cool that they actually do at the beginning of every year is something called Roommate, where they'll actually give out 100 pieces of art to students to put up in their own rooms. And people really go crazy over it. They'll like camp out the night before in tents and everything because the work that they actually take from the collection is really good. I know there was a Picasso print one of my friends got last year. I know there's an Andy Warhol that was out as well a couple years ago. Definitely something to check out if you're interested in having cool art in your room. But yeah, the Tang is an incredible space.
yeah. And yes, actually, locally, there's a lot of art galleries, and there are students doing internships, not only with artists, but also galleries locally, whether it's in the Albany area or the Saratoga area as well. So thanks for that question, Victoria. It's a good one.
Yeah, and you can actually work on campus in one of our on-campus art galleries, and you can get paid by the school to do that. It's no, you don't have to deal with doing a crazy application process or anything.
Yeah. Uh, you'd be also talking about working on campus. That is part of the financial aid end of things, is a work study program as part of our financial aid. And in regards to financial aid, we are 100%, well, 99% need-based aid, and we will meet 100% of the demonstrated need for each student that is admitted to Skidmore. The good side of that is you get great financial aid if you're admitted. The tough side of it is we can't admit everybody. So in the admissions process, early decision fills about half of our class. So you have 2 rounds of early decision and regular decision as well. And that financial aid is presented to you upon admission. So you would know when the admission letter comes out that what your financial aid would be. And that is a big part of the process. We have a wonderful website that I'll put up called the Net Price Calculator, and that students can use as they're trying to determine is Skidmore affordable. But that net price calculator is something that I will add into here as well. Uh, let's see. We've got about 10 minutes left. We're only got a couple more questions left. So maybe as people are thinking about questions, I did want to talk a little bit about um, the admissions part of things. We do have a great question here about career development. So, Teo or Aiden, have either of you used the career service department here at Skidmore? And if so, what's it been like for you?
So I have. They offer a variety of services, of course, traditional like resume help. You can get headshots taken there, cover letter support. So I have sent my resume to the Career Development Center and gotten notes on that. I also have done the same thing with cover letters. They have handy sort of like manuals and like tip sheets that you can access easily on their website, so that when you're doing it, you can get those things on your own. But they also do career fairs throughout the semester. I haven't been to any of those, but I know people that have and have found that a great way to connect with alumni. So those are all great tools.
Great. Anything else in that regards? I'm going to put the link up to our open houses that are coming up. We would love, I know a lot of you can't get here, so there are virtual options, virtual tours, there's Q&As, there's Ask Me Anythings, which are on Thursday nights with our students, where you don't have to look at me, you can just look at our students and hear their student experiences as well. Maybe what we can do from here is talk a little bit about residential life, living on campus. There's a great question here. Do you guys live on campus? And I'm pretty sure, Aiden, that backdrop is one of the apartments here on campus. It's wonderful. I've actually stayed in the apartments as well myself. They're pretty terrific. So, what is the residential life on campus? I believe we're 94% of our students live on campus. For the first couple of years, you'll live in the residence halls. Teo, can you talk a little bit about what the style of those residences are like, and then where do you guys live as upperclassmen?
Absolutely. So typically, your first year, you're going to be in a triple style room with two other people. It's a random roommate assignment. It's not really all that random though. You fill a pretty detailed questionnaire out that's basically asking when you wake up, when you go to bed, what you like to do with the room, stuff like that. And they do a pretty good job of pairing you with someone that's like-minded and someone that you'll get along with. I met one of my best friends in the triple that I had my first semester or my first year. So it ended up working out for me and many other people that I know from our year. Um, there are other options though. So sometimes you might be in a double depending on your class size. And you could possibly even be in a single your first year if, let's say, something doesn't work out with your roommate or you have an accommodation for housing. There's also plenty of singles that we leave available for first year students. But typically, your housing track is your first year, you're in a triple style room. Your second year, you're in a double or a single. And then your junior and senior year, you're in our on campus apartments or in a single style room. Um, I am currently living in the dorms for the summer, but I will be in back in the apartments in the fall once they clean up the whoever was living there before. Which I'm definitely looking forward to. Those apartments are massive, like bigger than anything I'm gonna be living in the next decade, or at least. Um, yeah, I don't know. Res life has always been super solid here. I feel like there's plenty of things to complain about it with college, and res life has always been absolutely peachy.
It's great. Thank you. And it's also kind of one of the strangest parts of college life is living with people, but it's also something that will make you stronger as well. And you have more choice the longer you're here. We have a question here about balance of the workload, the social life, getting enough sleep, eating right. What is the balance like for you guys with the academic, the social? Do you find that you have the time to do everything you want to?
Yeah, so I come at this from an athlete perspective. So I have like 20 hours a week of extra things going on for that. But um, like the reason why I love swimming is because it is like a an outlet for me, right? So if you're involved in a club or a job maybe that is particularly time demanding, and it's something that you like, I feel like that like makes you do better in school or maybe enjoy your other time better. So like having those kinds of interests, I think is really enriching. Like I do better balancing my time for like homework when I'm in swim season because I have less time and I'm also doing something every day and working out and seeing my friends. So like clubs are another great way to do that. So I feel like if you involve yourself more, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be more burnt out because the things that you get involved in might actually like bring more to your life and sort of give you something new.
Great, thank you. We've got 10 minutes left before we kind of sign off. We don't have to use the whole time. However, I love these questions. I am very excited about this group and this questions tonight. So thank you all for asking such great questions. Um, A little bit about studying abroad. I know it is a very large part of college life. I think no matter where you guys land for college, you should try to travel abroad at least for a little bit. Can you guys talk a little bit about travel abroad at Skidmore? What are some of the options? And then how does Skidmore kind of support you as you travel abroad once you're there or once you get back? Anything in particular there? Aiden, you said you traveled, right?
Yes. Yes. So last fall, I studied abroad in Ecuador. I did an incredible program where I lived in the Galapagos for like 2.5 months and lived with the host family and got to go snorkeling all the time. And I was near the beach and we went on so many field trips. So that was truly incredible. But study abroad can look like a couple different things here. Just in general, a little over half of students study abroad sort of in some form, whether that be a traditional semester or year-long program, or we also have something called travel seminars. So those are classes that you would take on campus during the academic semester, and then with your class and professor, you would travel to a different country. So we this spring had a travel seminar that's usually taught by our president, and they that's an English class, and they go to Ireland. There was also a course that went to Japan. Places have gone to Costa Rica, South Korea, lots of different other countries for those travel seminars. And I have found the off campus and study abroad office to be a really helpful resource. For me, I got waitlisted from the original program that I applied to for study abroad, and of course, was initially disappointed. But one of those advisors recommended me to apply for the program in Ecuador that I wound up choosing because she had visited it a few years prior, said it was really cool, aligned with my interests. And so I applied. And though I was not initially thrilled about it, just because, you get your mindset on something, I loved it. And you never hear anybody really get back from abroad and say that they didn't have a great time. There are so many different kinds of experiences because of the nature of that. So like everybody loves it. Everybody gets something special, but the advisors really do a great job of like pointing you in whatever path might be great. We have like 120 different programs to offer that you can take that Skidmore has approved so that you meet whatever academic requirements you might need. Two of those are Skidmore sponsored. We do a program in New Zealand and then one also in France, but then lots of partnerships with other universities and organizations.
Great. Thank you. Super thorough answer. I appreciate that. We're going to wrap up here, just quickly talking about admissions and some of the things that we look for. We hope that some of you, when you're researching Skidmore more, that you will come to campus or even apply. We hope that you will find that the common application is pretty easy. We do not have a supplemental essay this year. So the ways that we get to find out a little bit more about you are not just what you're doing academically, but also who you are. We are crafting a class of about 700 students who, yes, can academically do the work. However, they're also great community members. They're willing to take some of those classes that scare them a little bit, being willing to be supportive of their friends and really use the experience of the 4 years wholeheartedly. So we look at what your two teacher recommendations say about you, what your school counselor says about you, as well as how you've built on your academics year after year. We really like the fact that you engage with us. We are able to see that you've signed on for one of these tonight, that actually you're paying attention to some of the things that we're sending you. And so that engagement factor or that demonstrated interest is something that we like as well. We hope that you will reach out to us, admissions@skidmore.edu. Actually, Aiden, would you type that in the chat for me while I'm chit-chatting here? Admissions@skidmore.edu is where you can send any questions. We can connect you with other counselors like myself, other students. Happy to connect with you at any time. So please feel free to continue to research us, continue to be a part of our lives. We really appreciate the time that you've taken wherever you may be tuning in from. And it's really important to us that you continue to be a informed consumer about this college process. So I will put my email right in the chat as well. Again, it's sireland@skidmore.edu. Really appreciate both Teo and Aiden your time this evening. It looks like we have answered all the questions right now, but we hope that our folks will have more as time goes along. So, without further ado, we will sign off. And again, thank you guys very much for joining us tonight. Take care.